This type of disruption was unanticipated, but now the internet is in disarray, with rumors circulating, videos leaking, and fans in disbelief as rumors intensify. The news that Kirk Frost and Yanj, two of the greatest names in love and hip hop, were detained during a violent incident that broke out on set is louder than anything that was intended to be just. Another regular shoot allegedly went awry, escalating into a full-fledged altercation that resulted in handcuffs. Now that the frightening videotape is becoming viral online, the whole reality. Sources close to production say that the TV industry is in a breakdown mode and that tensions have been brewing behind the scenes for weeks, but nobody anticipated this. It began as a passion. After a few minutes of a verbal altercation that swiftly descended into violence, chaos broke out in front of the cameras with screaming and frantic security. Fans are left wondering what led to this violent confrontation, whether it was a personal betrayal, a professional breakup, or something more profound and more profound. Importantly, what does this signify for the show's future? Stay tuned because this is only the beginning, and you'll be surprised by the details as cameras roll under a tense gray sky. On what should have been a typical day of filming for the most recent season of Love and Hip Hop, everything appeared to be going according to plan, with producers giving directions, crew members setting up lights, and the actors. Members showed them on time, but there was a simmering tension between Kirk Frost and young Chalk that was not expressed. They looked at each other, nodded, and said very little. Something wasn't right, as anyone who stayed on set long enough to read the room could see. Production insiders said Kirk and Jock had been avoiding each other for weeks behind the scenes, and whisper implied that the fallout had ended. In a business deal gone awry, Kirk allegedly made some shady moves about a club promotion that Jock thought he was meant to be involved in. However, Kirk abruptly cut Jock out, and Jock wasn't going to let that happen. Things on Next Slide have been simmering for a while, with subtle barbs during group scenes and passive-aggressive remarks during confessional interviews, until today it all came to a climax. The director roared action. It was like setting off a fuse. Kirk and Jock were supposed to record a light-hearted scene at a lounge-style set where the actors were supposed to talk about future projects. Arriving late, the Jock's expression was unreadable. He sat down immediately across from Kirk, and after they had been silent for a while, Kirk leaned forward and mumbled something loud enough for Mike to hear, but too low for him to hear. Jock slammed his fist on the table to startle him, saying that he snapped again, locking eyes with Kirk. The room went silent and the crew members froze. Sitting next to Kirk, I automatically reached for his arm in an attempt to soothe him. Kirk remained unmoved, so I repeated the sentence, this time louder. You're acting like you run. You're really brave today, Kirk, he added, because you don't even own your name. Gas reverberated across the set as the Jock slowly rose up. The two men stood nose to nose in security, and the chairs rattled the floor as Kurt shot back. Who has been avoiding me for 3 weeks? No one is avoiding you. Hurried in, but the Jock was too quick, and he shoved Kirk first, sending him crashing back a few paces. Kirk swiftly sprang up and swung his fists forward. Cameras continued to roll as the commotion broke out. The crew attempted to break up the fight, but it was so fierce that furniture was toppled and punches flew. Even the other cast members who were initially surprised and frozen stepped in to try to break up the fight. When producers summoned Scott, who wasn't even on set at the time, they started shouting into walkie-talkies as Mustafa continually screamed Kirk's name, almost drowning out her voice. This wasn't just an argument that had turned into a full-fledged brawl was made worse by the fact that one of the camera team continued to record, following the altercation and capturing every. This is going to break the internet. One producer even whispered during the point in crystal clear film. However, things got out of control when Jock apparently threw a punch that unintentionally struck a security guard, and that's when the network realized what was going on. Had crossed the line, and within 20 minutes, police came. They entered the premises as Kirk and Jock were still being held in separate corners of the set, both of them seeming angry and bruised. Officers collected witness accounts, requested video, and started to separate the parties. Kirk yelled something at Jock as they released him, saying, "You're done, bro. You're done in this business, Jock." He didn't answer, but his expression conveyed that this wasn't the end of it. Word went viral on social media after someone published that 6-second video of Kirk swinging first, which went viral on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok like wildfire, stunned many followers. Believe it or not, this was planned at first. One person commented, but others said it was too real to be funny. Within an hour, the video had more than a Love and hip-hop singers Kirk Frost and Young Jock got into a fight that started, and it received millions of views on blogs. One headline said, Tennis posted a foggy. Rashida was seen outside while commentary on the picture of the two men being brought away in handcuffs was brutal, arguing over who was responsible and what this meant for the show's future. According to the station's clearly upset sources, she was shouting at producers, demanding answers, and threatening to leave the program if Kirk wasn't freed right away. This was supposedly a business scene. It's not a war zone, he remarked. Kirk was back inside, sitting in an interrogation room with his. He told the police that he felt intimidated because Jock had provoked him, that his face was tense and his knuckles were injured. He claimed to have acted in self-defense, but given the footage of the two guys fighting, it was likely that the jock was in a different room tending to a broken lip and a swollen eye when he was questioned about his. He chuckled bitterly and asked Kirk why he had been so afraid to confront me like a man these past few weeks. Kirk replied, "All of this could have been handled off camera. This is not what we represent. We want drama." Mona Scott told the network in a private statement after being briefed. However, there was no violence or arrests, and she told the crew to stop all shooting for as long as it took to assess the situation. However, there were rumors that she may utilize the video to increase viewership, according to several crew members, and she was already talking about how to best spin the tale for the most engagement. One producer allegedly stated, "As long as no." A lawsuit is filed. Kirk and Jock were detained overnight while mugshots started to circulate online, prompting viewers to wonder if their beloved reality stars had now crossed the boundary from which they were unable to return. As dawn arrived, the streets outside the station were crowded with paparazzi and fans who were eager to see them. Answers the following questions: who actually started the fight, what caused it, and most importantly, will Kirk and Jock actually suffer the repercussions, or was this simply an additional chapter in the crazy world of reality TV? But as Kirk was about ready to be released on bond, his phone rang and a message from a blocked number appeared. It said, "You believe that was? I hope you wait to see what happens next." He became piloted, that's what. The message on Perk's phone at the end of part one sent a shiver down his spine as he sat silently in the back of the police station, his hands still aching, his mind still reeling from what had happened. Over the course of the last day, he couldn't take his eyes off that mysterious text. "You think that was bad? Wait till you see what's coming next." He was unable to identify the blocked anonymous number, but it was obvious that someone was still out there posing a threat. And Kirk didn't know who it was or what they were planning. Meanwhile, young Jock was sitting in the backseat of a black sub, and his boss was shoving him out of town. His face was bruised, his jaw hurt, and his phone kept vibrating with calls and texts after he was released from the station. All of them came from reporters, fans, and those who pretended to be concerned were mostly ignored by the Jock, who was now only concerned with the harm done to his reputation and job. "More importantly, do you want to go home?" his manager inquired in a low voice. Jock, "No, I need to get something off my chest, so take me to the studio," he said, shaking his head. Both Kirk and Jock were trending on all social media sites by mid-morning, and the leaked video had received over 5 million views. Hashtag Kirk's Jock was. Fans were split on the top hashtag on Twitter, with some blaming Kirk, others supporting Jock, and many simply stunned that things had gotten to that point. No one had anticipated that, but was that a second? The Love and Hip Hop Production Studios editing bay was set to leak a longer film, but this time there was more than just punches being thrown back. Trey, a low-level assistant, had been secretly watching the uncut tape as part of his job, was to record scenes and label them for the editors, but he halted when he came across an uncut footage that the producers hadn't yet approved because the camera angle revealed a behind-the-scenes moment. Kirk and a producer were speaking in private before the altercation, and Kirk was unaware that the microphone was still hot on the video. Kirk could be heard stating, "I told Mona, Job is careless, sloppy, and believes that this program cannot function without him, so I'm not filming with him anymore. Are you certain you want to take that path that will annoy him?" the producer asked. Kirk retorted, "Let him be mad. I have dirt on him that will kill him if he tries me." He knew that if he revealed this, he would lose his job, but it would also reveal a whole new level of drama, so Trey sat transfixed, his heart pounding. When the video went viral 3 hours later, fans went crazy because it revealed that Kirk had been preparing to sever ties. Before the incident, it was discovered that Kirk was sitting on some sort of hidden Twitter account, which sparked a flurry of theories about what information Kirk had on Jock and whether Kirk initiated the altercation. Jock viewed the studio clip and almost knocked over his microphone in shock, thinking that this idiot had been planning something. The show is getting more bizarre every day. He phoned his manager, got my lawyer on the phone, and told Mono that we needed to see with Mona Scott right now because of pressure from the network called a separate emergency conference with Kirk and Jock in order to defuse the situation, determine whether filming could go on, and, most importantly, find a way to make this into. Kirk arrived first, wearing glasses to conceal the swelling around his eye. His face was icy. Mona greeted him with an embrace, which he accepted, and he won a ratings triumph without breaking any laws. Didn't answer what's going on, Kirk. She whispered softly, you tell me, and he said, why is footage leaking from? She reassured him that your studio was handling the game playing internally, but I need to know what this is about you having dirt on Jock Kirk, because he hesitated. Leaned in and gave me receipts, text messages, and deals he did behind the scenes to try to remove me off the show. Mona said that this was personal. Always been personal, Kirk snapped. Hours later, Jock had a private conversation with Mona, but Kirk arrived loud, furious, and prepared to argue verbally. He demanded, you knew he was trying to play me after you allowed him to say all that nonsense this time and did nothing to stop it. Mona held up her hands and said, Jock, I just want to fix things. I didn't know about the messages or that he was planning anything. This before the network disconnects. No, we won't make any changes until I get, at my opinion. A fresh video that was put online the next day was a selfie that was taken at Jock's studio and was taken from his verified Instagram account. To be clear, I didn't instigate that fight and I didn't want it. But I'm not a punk. I won't allow someone to disparage me without retaliating with a clap. He then stopped dramatically, saying, maybe it's time for me to share what I know, since Kirk wants to talk about dirt. Thousands of followers were enraged at that final remark and stormed the comments section, demanding facts and hashtags. For the first time in days, Jock was winning the public support war, and hashtags like hashtag Spilthit and hashtag Shriven started to trend. Kirk was witnessing the tide shift known as. Kirk addressed Rashida, who had hardly talked to him since the arrest and whose face was still tense with disappointment. I need you to stand with me on this. You? You nearly ruined your entire career over some trivial issues, she reiterated. Beef. It wouldn't be kind if he had been attempting to get me fired. Rashida shook her head and said, repair this for us, not for the cameras. As Kirk and Rashida quarreled behind closed doors, the network's external strain continued to increase. Demanding answers, advertisers threatened to stop financing Mona and violence continued to dominate headlines. Mona was attempting to strike a balance between the chaos and the prospect of extremely high ratings, but just as it seems that. The issue became much worse when Kirk received another anonymous message on his phone. This time there was no text, only a video file. Kirk opened it with shaking hands and the film showed him months previously in a. The audio of his private talk with the unidentified woman was hazy, but it was still audible enough to hear him remark, I'll find a way to cut Jocks out he's dead weight regardless of what the contract says. When Kirk saw that someone was sitting on a large vault of harmful material and releasing it piece by piece, his face went white once more. Meanwhile, back at Jock's studio, he got a package with no return address inside a US drive and a message that said, Kirk betrayed you, but you're not the only one. As the video played, Jock plugged in the drive-in and watched in disbelief as it showed Kirk in meetings with a Network X who was pushing for Jock's parts to be removed. Everything now makes sense. As Chapter 2 comes to a close, Kirk and Jock both realize they're fighting someone in the background rather than simply each other. Kirk paced back and forth. The stress was nearly intolerable, and the worst part is that they still don't know who wants them to crash and burn. Back and forth around his living room while the video continued to play in the background, and his voice reverberated through the speakers like a ghost from the past, each sentence and word serving as a reminder that someone had. The world was watching him, recording him, setting him up, and suddenly his phone buzzed once more, this time alerting him that another video had. Rashida Kirk's eyes widened as he tapped the screen, but it wasn't about him. The video was blurry and distant, but it was clear that Rashida had an passionate exchange with the man Kirk didn't recognize. He touched her arm and comforted her while she sobbed. The caption said, is Rashida trying to find solace from a stranger? Although Kirk was aware that Rashida had been aloof lately, he felt the blood drain from his face. While Jock gazed blankly at the files on the US drive, his heart was racing. Was this a real move or just another one in whatever perverse game was being performed at the moment? He hurried as he flipped through folders marked with names, dates, and even episode titles. Someone had saved years' worth of behind-the-scenes video, including producer notes, cast rumors, and exclusive recordings. Kirk was discussing the entire show, but before he clicked on the file that attracted his eye, the Jock_confession room, an old film appeared on the screen. In the video, he stated something he never would have imagined saying while sitting in the confessional chair and spoke to a producer about the day he nearly quit the program following a furious altercation with another cast member. Would survive this program, but it's not worth my sanity. If Kirk keeps making me angry, I'm going to lose it one day, and if I don't act shocked, the jock sat back in shock at the video. He would appear to be the aggressor if taken out of context, creating a picture that could be readily twisted to damage his reputation. The person who released the fight footage obviously had no trouble disclosing whatever that suited their purposes. A knock on the door startled him out of his reverie. It was his lawyer. "We have a problem," she said. "And the network's lawyers are looking over all the footage and are attempting to determine whether they can remove you both from the show." "They can't do that, we are the show," the jock said, "but they're under pressure since advertisers are leaving, and the board wants this problem fixed up quickly." Meanwhile, Mona, Scott's voice was calm on a conference call with the network, but below she was furious because the mayhem had gotten out of hand and she detested the fact that we could repair it. "Fans adore a return, so we present it as a redemption story in which Kirk and Jock resolve their differences." The exec on the line wasn't certain that they had physically attacked each other on camera, which isn't only awful. "Press that's a liability," Mona replied, "and let me do it my way. It'll be a week." After the call ended, Mona called Trey, the assistant editor who leaked the first video. She didn't know for sure it was him, but her gut told her he was involved. "I need you to find out who has the remainder of the video," she said coolly. "And now is the moment to confess if it's you." Trey paused. "I don't." Kirk remained mute later that night until he faced Rashida. "You think this is a game? Careers are on the line. You want to be next," she yelled. "Know what you're talking about? Don't lie to me." He asked, putting up his phone, "What's this video going around?" And she glanced. "I'm not sure what to think of it," she said, her eyes narrowing. "You honestly believe I'm playing around behind your back? First the fight, now this." "I don't even know who's pulling," Kirk retorted. "The strings. That man is a therapist, and I went to him because I wanted someone to talk to who isn't in this toxic group. You should have told me about your conspiracy against Jock or all the other secrets you've been holding." Instead, they stared at each other as the room was silent. Years of unresolved conflict around the community caused Jock to receive an unexpected visitor from his ex-girlfriend Carly, who wanted to check up on him after watching everything happen online. "Well," she said quietly, and he shrugged, "it depends on what video you've seen today." She sat next to him. "This whole thing feels bigger than you and Kirk Someone's." He said, "I think I know who he pulled out the US drive. This was delivered to me anonymously, but only one person would be aware of all this information. He was attempting to bring down the entire show." "Who had been there from the start and who?" Carly questioned Jock. Paused, and her eyes widened. Stevie Jake thought about it, and Jock added that he had been absent from the show he knows the ins and outs, the dirt, and the secrets since he vanished after the fallout with Mona. What if he's attempting to blow everything up? But why, Carly? Back at Mama's office, she received an email with the subject line, "You thought you could play God with people's lives," from an untraceable account. She pleaded for retribution exposure, possibly both. A video of her in a heated argument from years ago was attached. "Watch it all fall apart now. Drama sells if they hit each other, so what?" She hears Kirk and another producer say in the video. Mona's heart fell as we faded it out, added some sound effects, and saw the numbers rise. The video would destroy her if it leaked, so she grabbed her phone and called. Kirk agreed that we needed to meet, and the appointment was scheduled for midnight in a private back room of a bar where they used to film. However, before to the meeting, Kirk received a different message. This one is still photo from the club's security camera that showed Kirk waiting by himself with it. A shadowy figure stole Kirk's breath as he looked closer. It was too familiar, so he contacted Jock right away. "We're not enemies, man," Kirk said. "We're being played." Jock paused, then acknowledged. Then, adversaries suddenly turned into allies as the true danger was no longer one another, but rather. When the Jock arrived at the club, whoever had been observing them the entire time was prepared to come out of the shadows. To begin, he stood at the bar and looked around the dimly lighted room, noticing every shadow that made him. It was unsettling because he hadn't returned here in months, not since Kirk's notorious on-air call. Tonight's television seemed different, but it wasn't about ratings or stage drama. Rather, it was about genuine terror. Genuine repercussions of risk. Kirk entered 5 minutes later, running about as though someone would suddenly appear. The two locked eyes and gave each other a quick nod without saying anything. They moved to the rear room where Mona was already waiting, in silence, realizing that everything had changed. She paced like a storm about to break, but she didn't say hello or smile. Glanced up, and I went right to the point where you two are now formally liabilities because I've been causing harm. Constant supervision. If this situation worsens, the network will not only terminate your employment but also blacklist you, per Glean. You believe we are unaware that someone is attempting to put their arms up against the wall. Mona appeared doubtful until Jock came out and put us all in danger. This isn't just about the fight anymore. Watch this, he remarked simply, when the US drive was placed on the table between them. As the files opened on her laptop, her expression turned from amazement to uncertainty. After that, she flicked through folders containing unpublished scandals, confessional tapes, and unseen material out of terror. It was all there, along with producer directives to provoke specific cast members. After years of secrets that were sufficient to destroy the entire franchise, she went to Kirk and Jakku. Where did you acquire this, Kirk? We believe it's Stevie J, but someone sent it to him anonymously, he responded. Mama's face became icy. Stevie would be afraid. Jock shook his head, saying that there was a reason he vanished and perhaps he has been gathering all of this while we were out here battling for scraps earlier, as he has been silent for much too long. When Mona's phone rang, she took it up and became pale. Watching another video. Had been released showing Mona instructing the producer to set up a phony. Using Kirk and Jop's arrest sequence to increase views, create the tension with the handcuffs and her voice in the video. Appear authentic enough to go viral. The leak had already reached a prominent gossip block, and the comment section was erupting. Fans of Kirk's phone buzz were now accusing them of fabricating the fight and influencing the story to the viewers. It was getting out of control. Mona slammed her laptop shut. We need to stop this and do a press interview. Release something, but the jock interrupted. No, not this time. We always lie to hide things. Up another falsehood, we delve more, and we must identify the person responsible. Kirk nodded, agreeing that they are pursuing us and halt them before they leak anything from which we cannot recover. First the fight, then Rashida, and now you. Who's next, Mama? Put the weight aside. When everything falls apart on her, relocate Stiffy. If he is responsible, we stop. Meanwhile, somewhere in the city, a figure was sitting in a dimly lit room tonight. With the sole light coming from several screens, the enigmatic sender observed the mayhem taking place on the internet. Notification confirming that their strategy was effective, they selected a second video file with a label. The video of the Jock _ Kirk's secret encounter captured the exact exchange of words. The figure grinned as they were captured on video in the room at the club right now. After all these, Benzino leaned back, arms folded, and asked, "What do you want in years?" "Revenge. Not just for me, but for everyone you abandoned, because you believe you're the... No, you're just the newest clowns in the franchise's kings, the untouchables." An endless circus performer stepped up and additionally, the media is ravenous. Kurt's hand squeezed. "What's your price, Benzino?" Laughing, "I don't want money. I want to be seen by everyone. I really want to see what you've created," burned Jockey. As you got closer, suppose that it disgraced truthful, unvarnished stories. Kirk and Jock became regulars, sharing intimate details in ways the audience had never witnessed, and the reaction was fans saw them as humans, not just characters.